Hi guys, so in today's lesson what we're going to look at is starting the first part of a three-part lesson of creating one big piece based on all of the perspective drawing we have learned. Okay, so our skill is to create a full piece of artwork in three parts like I've just said, using a horizon with a focal point and using the correct perspective. And the context will be a road leading to the horizon with a billboard, trees and buildings. What we must be doing this lesson is putting letters on our billboard, having trees that get smaller towards the horizon. You should have letters to scale on the billboard and trees that are in proportion and get smaller. What you could have is different fonts of letters and the evolution of man drawings on the billboard. Now these are all things that I'm going to show you how to do. So we need to draw the following. So in this lesson we're going to be drawing a road towards the horizon, a billboard with lettering on and trees that get smaller towards the horizon. And remember, when we draw, we use our focal point as a guide. We draw our guidelines to our focal point and make sure that what we are drawing, so if it's buildings or trees, is in the correct scale. Okay, so everything leads to the focal point. Okay, so this is what we are aiming for. So hopefully by the end of these three lessons you are going to have something that looks a little bit like this but with full colour. So I just put a little bit of colour on this to show you, to give you sort of an idea of what it might look like in the end. And hopefully after the three lessons this is what we'll have. But what we're going to start with today is we're going to start with the outlines for the road, the billboard and the trees. Okay, take it step by step and we will get to this point. Okay, so first thing you need is your piece of paper. Now I think you will have been provided with an A3 piece of paper, and you should have a pencil and a ruler and a rubber just in case of any mistakes. So to start your process, you're going to draw your line for the horizon. Now I've done mine just above halfway because I think what we want is, we don't want it too high up because you want the road to be a lot closer than it usually is. Okay, so draw in your horizon line and then find your middle point. So measure it, find halfway and put yourself a dot for the focal point. Right, so to do our road, you've got these measurements. So let me go back to this one. So where your dot is, you're going to line your ruler up to go down here and draw your dot. You can see that on here, dot in the middle, and then measure the same on either side. So I measured about 4 inches either side. So I drew my dot, I measured 4 inches on that side, drew a dot, 4 inches on that side, drew a dot, and then half an inch either side. It doesn't matter what you decide, as long as they're equal on either side, it's up to you. I've done it quite wide, so it's about halfway between this dot and this dot is where the edge of my road and the pavement sits. Okay, once you've drawn those dots, you then, like we have been doing for all our roads, you line up the ruler with your focal point and your dot on the outside and draw yourself a line. Okay, and then when you finish, you'll end up with what we've been drawing over and over. So you should be pretty good at this now, drawing your road, because we've had lots of practice with this. So you've got your 2 lines coming in to make the road, your next 2 lines to make your pavement, and then you've got your lines going down the middle of your road that start off long and thicker and they get shorter and closer together towards the horizon. And then if you want to, you don't have to, you can draw in the bricks for your pavement, which again start off long and then they get shorter and smaller as they get closer towards the horizon. So pause your video, get your road drawn in with all the markings, and then we'll have a look at adding in our billboard. Right, so to start me off with my billboard, I'm going to get my trusty guidelines out, okay? So, as always, towards the focal point. So, you start with here, you line your ruler up, just so give yourself a bit of a gap towards the road because you're going to want some feet on the billboard to stand it up. And then, so between here and here, it's just past halfway. and you do another guideline going from your focal point all the way out, okay? And that's going to help you draw your billboard. So pause your video and get your guidelines drawn, and then I'll show you how we're going to draw the actual billboard in. Right, so to draw the actual billboard now, you are going to draw your straight line. So these pictures are ever so slightly wonky. Just straighten up a little bit. Actually, I'll leave it there. So get your ruler and line it up with the bottom of your piece of paper, okay? And then draw yourself from one guideline down to the bottom guideline, one line, and then another closer towards it, okay? And give yourself a little bit of room here towards the horizon where you're going to add in your tree later on, okay? Once you've added your guidelines, go around so that you've got the outline of the billboard here, okay? So can you see that it's a rectangle that gets smaller towards the horizon, okay? Pause your video, draw in your guidelines, and then I'll show you what it looks like once you've rubbed out the guidelines. Right, so what I've done here is I rubbed out these guidelines. So I rubbed out this, 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 and then the horizon in the middle, okay? Because it just makes it a lot easier for when you're drawing your letters in. And then what I've done is I've added the feet in here. So 3 lines, you've got 2 slightly wider, and then 1 more narrow line here because that shows the 3D. And then here they're a lot shorter because again, it's going towards the horizon. So this one's long, this one's short, okay? And then so now you can see it all rubbed out, and you can see really, really well that it looks like a really good billboard now. So pause your video, rub out your guidelines, and have a go at adding those feet. If that's a little bit too tricky for you, just do a thick line, and that will still look just as effective, okay? Right, so now I'm going to add my guidelines for my lettering, okay? So as always, I'm going to line my ruler up with my focal point, okay? And I'm going to draw 1, 2, and then 1 in the middle. So here, look, got 1, 2, 3 lines. So I drew the top line and then the bottom line, and then I measured in between to find the middle and drew a line there, which is going to make it a lot easier to draw my letters. And then I'm going to do the same on this one. So I've drawn my top and bottom, and then I'm going to measure the middle and draw then. So these lines that you've drawn within your billboard, they're going towards the focal point, okay? So just like you drew your guidelines here, just do the same with these. Line it up with the focal point and all the way out, but just draw it within the billboard, okay? And now, so what I've done is I've used my guidelines and used my best handwriting to write evolutionary, okay? So that's EVOLUTIONARY. So it's a really long word, and it fills out your billboard really, really well. So use this midpoint, just like when you do handwriting. These just go up to this bit, and then you've got your extenders that go all the way up to here, and obviously a capital letter that goes up to here. So have a go at drawing that in your neatest handwriting using your guidelines, and you can see how it gets smaller as it gets closer towards the horizon. So pause your video and have a go at that, and then we'll have a go at some bubble writing underneath. Right, so I've now added in my bubble writing, and can you see what I did was the same with this. I added my middle, and then I added my letters. And before, what we were doing was we were adding some lines here, but you can have a go at doing it without your lines. Just make sure you've spaced out your letters nicely and that you're using these top and bottom lines, okay? And you see where the middle of my A is lined up with that middle line here as well. And I've just done some dots here to fill it out a little bit. Have a go at doing bubble writing, or you can do a different kind of font if you wanted to. You could try maybe a bit of graffiti. You could have a go at doing your fancy handwriting again, maybe do some calligraphy. As long as there's a bit of a difference between it, I think it looks really effective. Like even if you did both in bubble writing, one in lowercase and one in uppercase. Okay, so pause your video and have a go at adding in your font. Right, so this bit is tricky, so definitely have a go at it. We're going to have a go at drawing the evolution of man part of it. So I've done 3 guidelines. So I did the top and the bottom, and I've done them wider. So can you see it's about the same as both of these? And then I measured between, found the middle, and I drew another guideline. And remember, these all go towards your focal point, okay? So line your ruler up with that dot and draw your guidelines, okay? And now what I've done is I've had a look. So if you need some help drawing this, have a look on Google for the evolution of man silhouettes, okay? And that's what I've copied this from, or just have a go at copying my stickmen at first. So I've drawn out, you see how it's like the monkey slowly standing up into a man, and I've drawn it as the stickman outlines first, so it's going to be easier for me to go around, okay? And I've used this guide because he's crouching down, he's only going up to that bit, and the more they stand up, the closer they get to this top bit, but they still get smaller, so it is a bit confusing because they are crouched down, but they're also bigger and then getting smaller. So don't worry if you find it difficult. This bit is tricky, but at least just give it a go, and then we'll see where we get, okay? Right, so now I've added in my outlines by using, you can see here that I've used these stickmen, okay? What I'll do is I'll go to the next side where I've done, there's close-ups, okay? So again, have a go at just going around your stickmen and getting those outlines, and just don't panic about this one. This one is definitely a big challenge. If you can have a go at it, that would be fantastic. If it doesn't go exactly to plan, that's why you've got your rubber, and as long as you're giving it a try, that's what I want to see, okay? You might not get it perfect, but it's just a really good way to look at drawing a person and that sort of the perspective of it getting smaller, okay, towards that horizon. So what I'll do is, if you pause the video, just have a go. So start with your stickmen. If you really, really aren't that confident, feel free to leave it as stickmen. But if you want to have a go at drawing around them to create those funny bodies. And because it's a silhouette, you just have to do the outline. You don't have to add too many features in there. And then if you need to, you can pause it here and have a look close up to see how you can do it, okay? But like I said, have a look on Google and see if you can use those images to help you. You could copy off them, okay? Right, so finally what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 palm trees, okay? Now we've drawn trees before, we've done dead straight lines, but because they're palm trees, they're kind of more organic. So you can draw like a wiggly line, 2 wiggly lines, and then smaller here. So this one's a lot bigger because it's in the foreground, it's in the front. And this in the background is a lot smaller, but they both go way past the horizon line. And then what you're going to do is, because they're palm trees, you're just going to add in these lines, okay? Like a bit of an umbrella. So really big on this one, and then a lot smaller on this one here because it's further away. And now what you should have is the first half of your piece of art. So you've got your road, you've got your billboard with your lettering, and you've got your big palm trees here, okay? And you won't need to add any more pencil to this, because if you have a look at this one, it's here where you add in the leaves for the palm trees with your colouring pencil. So just leave it as your pencil outline for now, because you're going to add the detail with the colour. Okay, so next what we're going to look at on the next lesson is adding in the buildings. Okay, so rewind, re-watch if you need to. Use Google to have a look at these evolution of man, see if you can copy it. And as always, if you get it wrong, just try again, rub it out, keep trying, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're doing. And I'll see you in the next lesson. Okay, bye-bye.